San Antonio Spurs tip off back-to-back games in Los Angeles tonight when they face the Lakers. The Spurs are coming off their blowout 147-127 loss to the Blazers in Portland to start their three-game West Coast road trip that includes 4 games in 6 nights with Phoenix at home on Saturday. They currently stand second to last in the Western Conference, 3 games ahead of the bottom-feeding Houston Rockets. But the Lakers are just ahead of the Spurs with a record of 22-26 and will get a boost tonight if reports are true. Anthony Davis is set to make his return from a foot injury 5.5 weeks ago that saw him suffer from a fractured bone spur and stress reaction in his right foot, even though, according to ESPN, he will be on a minute restriction between 20 and 24 minutes tonight against the Spurs. In his absence, the Lakers have gone 10-10. Now, that includes last night's disappointing loss to the Clippers, 133-115 loss, despite LeBron James' 46 points that included a career-high 9 3-pointers, scoring over 40 points against the Clippers for the first time in his career, giving him 40-point games against every team in the NBA. But the Lakers still went down by 23 points thanks to Paul George and former Spur Kawhi Leonard, who combined for 52 points that included 19 three-pointers as a team. James was so frustrated he was seen walking up the ramp to the locker room before the game was over, now needing just 178 points to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the NBA's all-time leading scorer. Here's a matchup tonight, 9:30 tip time. Early highlights for you tonight on the Night Beat.
Pro football coverage, powered by Davis Law Firm.
Now that the Dallas Cowboys season's over, the question is, who will they be looking for? A new offensive and defensive coordinator. Both Kellen Moore and Dan Quinn are being interviewed for head coaching vacancies. Moore is still in Carolina as one of the 9 candidates for their vacancy after he was interviewed yesterday by the Panthers. His stock may have fallen a bit after that poor offensive performance in the 19-12 loss to the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC divisional playoffs that included the terrible final play call. Meantime, Dan Quinn is in Arizona for his second interview with the Cardinals, even though he is considered one of the favorites to become the Broncos' new head coach. Meantime, the Houston Texans are giving Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka a second interview today, while there are reports that the Texans might also be interested in working out a deal to land Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. Houston certainly has the draft picks to get the deal done. That includes number 2 overall pick with 11 overall and 2 in the top 12. All this is according to ESPN. And remember, his brother David was the Texans' first overall pick in franchise history back in 2002. And congratulations to former Wagner High School alum Spencer Burford, who becomes the first ever UTSA football player to play in the NFC Championship game. That's after the San Francisco rookie lineman was part of the 49ers' 19-12 victory over the Dallas Cowboys in that NFC divisional playoff game. Our Larry Ramirez visited with Spencer before the Cowboys game, where he has now started in every single game this season, regular season and playoffs. Here's that title game matchup, the 49ers against the Eagles in Philadelphia Sunday at 2 p.m. Kansas City star quarterback Patrick Mahomes proclaimed himself good to go for the AFC Championship rematch with the Cincinnati Bengals. That's after he suffered a high ankle sprain in the Chiefs' 27-20 victory over the Jaguars.
It's doing good. You know, I've had a few days of treatment, a few days of rehab. Excited to get on the practice field and kind of test it out and see where I'm at, but it's feeling good so far.
All right, and here is that matchup for the AFC Championship, the late game on Sunday at 5:30. Bengals and Chiefs, a rematch of last year, which you remember went to overtime. 27-24. See what happens this year.
They need Mahomes to be healthy.
They sure do.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg.
We'll be right back.
The alleged gunman in the Half Moon Bay, California shooting arraigned this afternoon on murder and attempted murder charges. This as we learn new details in the random attack in Yakima, Washington that left 3 dead. As ABC's Rena Roy reports, renewed calls for gun control once again echoing across the country after the latest deadly mass shootings.
67-year-old Chun Li Jiao facing a judge on 7 counts of murder, 1 count of attempted murder, and charges of enhancing a firearm. The families of 7 innocent farm workers now grappling with their sudden loss, including Servando Martinez, who says his 50-year-old brother, Marciano Martinez Jimenez, was killed in the attack. Martinez says his brother was a good person and good co-worker who was an admired supervisor and that the loss has left the family broken. Police taking down the suspect hours after the massacre after they say he opened fire at 2 farms Monday in Half Moon Bay, California. Officials calling this a workplace violence incident.
This is not supposed to happen here. These are good people.
Meanwhile, in Yakima, Washington, 3 people killed Tuesday after a random attack at a convenience store. Officials say the shooter didn't buy anything or say a word before killing 2 customers and a man in his car at a gas pump. Authorities saying the suspected gunman later died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. All of this after 11 were killed during a Lunar New Year celebration at a dance hall in Monterey Park, California. A newly released Secret Service report showing a gun was used in nearly 3/4 of the mass attacks carried out in the U.S. from 2016 to 2020.
What the hell is wrong with us that we allow these weapons of war and large capacity clips out on the streets and sidewalks? Why have we allowed this culture, this pattern to continue?
The White House now renewing calls for gun control. Vice President Kamala Harris visiting with families of the victims in the Monterey Park shooting. Rena Roy, ABC News, Half Moon Bay, California.
And with that news of mass shootings playing out across the country, we're going to talk about one that's closer to home and the aftermath of what happened in Uvalde. We are joined by State Senator Roland Gutierrez, who has at least 4 different bills, State Senator, that I've seen that you have introduced in the Texas legislature to hopefully deal with the aftermath of what happened. And correct me if I'm wrong, but also we're talking about accountability when it comes to what happened in Uvalde.
We are, Steve. I don't know if you can still see me.
Yeah, we can.
Okay, good. I had a little technical difficulty on my end. We filed 4 new bills yesterday. 2 of them were resolutions, 2 of them were bills. We have 1 resolution. We see these every year from different people that have grievances against the state. We have a sue the state resolution, which would allow the parents to be able to get through some of the immunities and protections that the state has. The fact is that these people, there was so much negligence out there on the scene, and certainly they should be afforded the opportunity to have their day heard in the courthouse. We also had a resolution to send to Congress to eliminate the protections of PLACA, that is the Protections of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act. Essentially, we can sue big tobacco for marketing to kids. We can sue big beer for marketing to kids, but we can't sue big gun companies. They are protected. And so we're asking Congress to eliminate that protection. The 2 other things, one of them was a compensation fund. If your child dies in one of our schools, you should be compensated. If your child gets injured, you should be compensated. And lastly, another piece was qualified immunity. We need to really revisit qualified immunity. You know, I'm for law enforcement, but under no circumstances should we protect law enforcement when we see the kind of failures that we saw on that day. You know, you can sue a doctor, you can sue a teacher, you can sue a lawyer, you can sue a priest, but you can't sue cops and you can't sue municipalities. We have to have a real conversation about that when these types of things happen, and they shouldn't be able to hide behind the law on that.
I believe we have, State Senator, a graphic summarizing a lot of those points, the crux of the bills that you have filed so far. You mentioned lawsuits, and one of the pieces of legislation would allow victims' families to sue the state of Texas if it were to pass. Have you talked to families of the robbed victims in Uvalde? Is that something they want to do? And if so, why? What are they looking for?
Well, we know that about 5 bodies came out of that building with a pulse. What we don't know is how many had a pulse at minute 20, at minute 30, at minute 40. Certainly, the state of Texas nor any of those officers are responsible for the shooting that happened in and of itself. But we have to incur responsibility for the negligence that occurred thereafter. We didn't have ambulances, couldn't even get in because you had DPS troopers blocking every arterial street. The state Strax team said we're not going to send helicopters onto the campus when we could have done that to save lives. There's, again, 5 people might have been saved and maybe more. Certainly an extreme degree of negligence happened on that day, and families should be able to avail themselves of the courthouse like anybody else would if you were suing a private company. And so we've got to be honest with ourselves on what happened on the day. And as far as the families, yeah, they have lawyers. They want to be able to sue the gun manufacturer, but the gun manufacturer is protected. This gun manufacturer had ads, Star Wars ads, for instance. Other manufacturers gave away fake AR-15s to kids. This particular gun manufacturer, Daniels Defense, is very proud of the fact that the Call of Duty gun is a Daniels Defense replica. And so we've got to be honest with ourselves as human beings. We've got to give people a chance and have a discussion on these very important issues.
I want to talk about the fact that it doesn't seem, though, like there's a very likely scenario where any of these things pass in the Texas Senate. Are you agreeing with that or disagree with that?
Well, no, I just had a conversation today with the lieutenant governor. We're going to talk next week about what is viable and what isn't. I mean, none of the things, by the way, that I talked about yesterday were partisan. Those are things that anybody could avail themselves in the state of Texas. And it's not about Democrats. It's not about Republicans. It's about kids. The gun bills are certainly issues that the NRA then steps in and says, well, wait a minute, we can't do that. And so it's my hope that we can pass some gun legislation, 18 to 21, for instance, bulk ammo sales. Imagine this kid went in on everybody says his 18th birthday, is a few days later, buys the first AR. The next day he goes back to the same shop, buys 900 plus rounds of ammunition. And the third day buys even more, buys the second gun or picks up his internet bought gun. Not one red flag went off, not one call to the sheriff's office, nothing. We have to register when we buy Sudafed at Walgreens. It goes into a database, you drop your driver's license and so forth. We need to have things in place that let law enforcement do a right job where we can say, oh, this is strange. This young man bought this large amount of ammo, 2 assault rifles in the span of 3 days. We need to go check on that. Common sense solutions are what people are asking for, Steve. And I think that hopefully we can find some like-minded Republicans that will agree with us.
There's a bill you have filed that we haven't talked about yet that really looks at term limits that, correct me if I'm wrong here, but would set term limits for U.S. senators from Texas. Is that right?
Well, you know, everything I do is serious, right? But there might be a little tongue-in-cheek in this one. The fact is, you had Senator Ted Cruz yesterday file this resolution that he wished and hoped that there was term limits for the U.S. Senate, and he said that he would comply with 2-year terms. So we filed a bill to oblige him today. You know, even though the U.S. Constitution and the U.S. statutes basically call the shots on how U.S. senators are elected and how long they stay. The fact is there's a new case in front of the Supreme Court. It's called Moore v. Harper, which might allow state governments to be able, and that decision is coming down very soon, might allow state governments to be able to make those decisions. So we'll see what happens there. Listen, if we're going to have legislators talk about term limits and act as if this is exactly what they want, well, then we need to make sure that we make it happen. At the end of the day, we've seen what happens when people in Washington stay there too long. If someone said, Roland, you can only do 12 years in the Texas Senate, I'm fine with that. At some point, we need to have new blood, new people in to tell us about these new ideas that they have to move forward in government.
State Senator, before we let you go, I want to hit on one more thing. If I heard you right yesterday when you were talking, you are planning on having news conferences every week for the next few weeks to talk about what happens in the aftermath of Uvalde. You want to keep this on the front burner. Am I correct in that?
Steve, these families are stalwart. They're very, they're broken, but they're not defeated. They are driven by the sole purpose, two reasons. They don't want their children's death to have been in vain, and they don't want this to happen to another family in Texas, another parent to have to go through the pain and the sorrow, to have to go through DNA matches like they did, and everything in between. They want this to stop. This isn't me asking them or suggesting to them what to do. They are driving this ship. What we did yesterday was a set of cases that was based on justice and reparations, if you will, access to the courthouse. Next week, we're going to look at appropriations, what kind of money can be spent, perhaps school hardening appropriation requests, mental health and rural mental health requests. We're even going to look at, putting a cop in every school. Those are the kinds of solutions that we need to have that are not gun driven, right? And so we can, at the end of the day, I've always said that the common denominator is guns, but I'm open to everything else.
You're right.
As long as those conversations are earnest and meaningful. We can't just do what we did in 2019 after Santa Fe and put down $110 million for school hardening. We have 8,300 campuses. We need to have a real discussion. That's $1 billion discussion and beyond
At least encouraging that it sounds like, Senator, there are some talks happening with people on the other sides of the aisle. That is always a place to start. A lot for us to follow after your filing, so we'll be sure to keep tabs on that. Thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you so much.
We'll be right back.
We're still following that breaking news at 410 in Somerset, and this is a look here at the big traffic jam that it is causing. This is what we told you about earlier. Some kind of argument at a restaurant led to a chase between a couple of cars and then eventually a shooting, and traffic is not moving at all as this investigation plays out.
Yeah, you can see the cruisers are in the median there trying to look for what evidence they can find. We'll be right back.
Forecast keeping us on our toes this week. So how cold are things going to get in the mornings ahead, Adam?
We're going to feel the chill in the air, that's for sure. Have the jackets ready to go to start the day tomorrow and even on into Friday. You know, right now, temperature sitting at 55 degrees, right? Temperature has been falling off from the high of 60, but we're going to see that temperature falling quickly. Dew point of 28, dry air, and the wind's going to really pump the brakes. And by tomorrow morning, we're talking low 30s to even some upper 20s as you get into the hill country. 31 Bulverde, Timberwood Park, even 29 Comfort, 30 Bandera, and looks like about 31 degrees as you get around Utopia. In San Antonio, 34 in the morning. Here's your KSAT 12-hour forecast. Total sunshine, warmness up into the low 50s by noon, and then a high temperature of 58 at 4 p.m. with that total sunshine. So the afternoon is going to be below average as well. And generally speaking, our afternoons are going to be cooler than average for the next 7 days. Let's take a look at the rain chances. Next shot comes on Saturday. Now, I do want to point out that the drizzle chance is about 100%. Okay, the drizzle chance is really high, but once you get into the actual light rain activity, we have about 40% coverage across our area. And then again, by the early part of next week, Tuesday, and then even on into Wednesday, some chances again, but right now the isolated, so about 30%. But there is a potential we could be raising those chances. At least they're there for a change, more than just once in the 7-day forecast. It's nice to see the odds at least there. All right, here's the big picture. Moisture off to the east of us and even in the Great Lakes. It's all part of the system that brought the severe weather around Houston yesterday and even our showers and storms yesterday morning as well. Saturday system, just a little swirl right now out in the Pacific. A little bit of energy. It's going to be thrown our way up above us, along with a few other factors to bring us mainly nuisance rain for most of Saturday. And here's our future cast. You see how light the activity is and not even a whole lot of coverage in terms of the actual rain. Keep in mind, the models don't show the drizzle. They don't show that drizzly dampness that adds up a little bit, but actual rain generally along and east of I-35, especially Saturday night, we'd be lucky to squeeze out a quarter of an inch. I think we could consider ourselves fortunate. So mainly very light in nature as we get into Saturday. Next couple of days, nothing but sunshine, chilly mornings in the 30s. Afternoons in the upper 50s. This weekend, we actually get up to 70 degrees by Sunday with that afternoon sunshine, but then near 60 again with more clouds as we get into next week. So they're the below average temperatures.
We need all the rain we can get right now, though. That's for
every
sure.
drop.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Getting humans to Mars one day could be done with nuclear power. NASA's working with an arm of the Defense Department to develop a nuclear thermal rocket engine.
Yeah, the Space Agency and the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency want to create an engine that would rely on a nuclear reactor to provide the thrust needed to propel a rocket through space. They tried to develop this type of technology before. The program stalled. NASA says the first test, though, could happen as soon as 2027.
Some new information we've just learned about a crash that followed a shooting and has led to this tie-up at 410 in Somerset. We now know that the person involved in that crash had been shot in the back of the head, according to San Antonio police. And that person was also involved in a fight that preceded this at a nearby fast food restaurant.
Yeah, and that led to this crash. That led to this backup, as you can see at 410 and Somerset Road. You can see a number of police vehicles on the scene. Of course, we'll have much more on this on the Night Beat at 10. Adam.
All right, cold tomorrow morning, 34 to start the day. Jacket weather the next few days, really. Highs in the upper 50s, so below average. Saturday, damp. Overall, just dampness, mostly that nuisance dampness, but adding up to maybe 1/10 to 2/10 of an inch for some lucky folks. And then we clear out again on Sunday.
Thanks, Adam. And thank you for watching the news at 6.
See you back here on the Night Beat at 10.